Hey everybody, we're back over in Building B. I want to talk a little bit right now about a trend that we're seeing in the aftermarket automotive industry. And actually it's been going on for a little while, but it's the changeover from brass and copper heater core to aluminum. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that's going to say, well, but nobody wants aluminum. You can't have aluminum. Well, that's what we're seeing. And the biggest reason we're seeing that is simply because of cost. Now, aluminum and copper are both mined products. In other words, we dig down in the ground, we pull them up, go through the whole process of that. And even though these are both commodity traded products, copper keeps doing this number. It just keeps going up. And don't ask me to explain why, because I'm not a commodity trader, so I couldn't tell you why. But we've seen this in wiring already happen, and it's still happening. Costs just keep going up and up and up because copper is more expensive. They both still function the same. They're both a tube and finned stacked item with tanks on the side, in and out. Water comes in one way, goes through the tank or the tubes here. Heat is released from the fins, goes back out cooler, back to the motor, and then it cycles back around. And it's just a vicious cycle of going round and around and around and around. Aluminum works the same way. However, aluminum does have a different heat dissipation than brass and copper does. So brass doesn't have much. It will release some heat. Copper does release heat. Aluminum, every single solitary square inch of it releases heat. The tanks, the tubes, the fins, everything. It just works. The properties, molecular properties are different, and I'm not even going to attempt. I'm shocked I even was able to say that word. But I'm not even going to attempt to start explaining all that. There's a real neat video you're going to see attached in the description of this video that does talk about heat dissipation. And we're also going to keep seeing what we're seeing here. And a lot of, again, it's just cost. They're both assembled very similarly. You've got your tubes and fins. They get stacked in. Tanks get put on. You get tubes put on here. Same thing happens here. And this is all then soldered together. There's also a little bit of a newer process coming out that's come out for a while. Vintage Air uses it exclusively in their units, called Cooper brazing, where it all gets put together and essentially there's kind of a slurry gets put on, tanks get put on, and then it gets run through an oven, and it does the same thing. It essentially solders this all together into one chunk, and then they obviously do a pressure test. But that's kind of a newer process that's come about in the last few years, and honestly, hopefully that's going to cut down some cost of doing these, because you're not paying somebody to sit there and solder it together. That, and you get a little more uniformity too. So that's the real big difference, and that's why you're seeing. So a lot of times, this particular one is 57 deluxe heater. This was a Nova, if my memory's right, when we just grabbed it out of a box. But you still got some of this, but you're seeing more and more of this. And I'm not sure what the late model industry is doing, but again, it's really focused about cost and trying to keep the cost down. We haven't seen this long enough inside the casings of the old cars just to see, what it's going to do long term to gaskets and whatnot. So that'll be interesting to follow up and see how it works later on. So just thought you might find it interesting. Reason why you're seeing it.